and you go
That's weird.
scroll down, and they
Okay, I'll take a look again.
like
That's weird.
the same pictures come up like 3 times.
I don't know how that can happen.
I take this photo of myself. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know why. You only uploaded them once?
Yeah, I don't know how I can grab it 3 times if I'm just selecting.
Commission.
Yeah, all, and it's like, okay, brand new to the game. All right, it's 10:30 when it seems, let's get somebody that actually.
Well, that was a more complicated transaction. It wasn't relinquishing one property and buying one property.
Yeah.
It was one property turning into multiple properties.
Mhm. Diversity.
Yeah, it's really a short period of time, 45 days to do that.
Yeah.
Well, good morning, everybody. We're live, by the way, so anything you say will be used against you, right? All right, I can't hear anyone, maybe because they're muted.
Hi, how you doing? Good morning.
Good. All right, I hear you now, Tony. Thank you.
Hey, I like the background. That's awesome.
Thank you. Really should have
Awesome.
changed it. I should use something that just promotes Coldwell Banker, nothing more than that. Right?
Well, that's
And I
that's
have
really
one.
awesome.
I do have one.
Well, isn't that promoting Coldwell Banker? The pictures of CB in the background?
Oh, I'm looking at you. I'm sorry. Yeah. 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 It's pretty cool. So Tony, Cece sent out notification to people that are members of the, I think of the MLS committee, indicating she's scheduling classes for ethics training.
Mhm.
Now, she didn't spell it out specifically, but it sounds like that is for credit also if any of the agents attend that class, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So I think for the pro standards, you have to take your code of ethics every year to be
Mhm.
part of the committee, because you have to, I think there's two parts to it. There's the ethics training, and then you have to go through, I think it's the hearings. There's
Yeah.
like a demo hearings class to understand like what would be feasible, and of course, how to conduct yourself during a hearing.
But in this case, she opened it up to anybody in my office in terms of the credits.
Credits.
and attending.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. Yeah.
So
Are you
whoever's-
going to be part of the pro standards again this year?
I am.
Excellent.
I am.
Yeah. You're one
I'm
of the top
debating about
dogs.
the MLS committee, but
Oh, we need good people up there. People
actually,
who
I
can make
talked to.
sense.
Yeah, I went to the luncheon, which was a sponsored, right? And
Mhm.
Sandra was there, and I said, Sandra, I have a great idea. We should reduce that meeting to a 1 hour time frame, assigned time constraints to each and every category, so we can get this thing done in an hour. She liked it. We'll see what she does.
I hope so. I know that. Well, as you know, some of them can just talk, man.
Talk. Yes, I do. I do.
Yeah. There's some things I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe we're on hour 2. This should have been done like a long time
Yes.
ago.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know if you got my message, but I don't think that we're really effectively utilizing One Home. Do you have time to go over that today?
If you want me to, sure. I know
Yeah.
today we're going over the contract a little bit, and how to register a listing.
Yeah,
Registering a listing is
register.
easy.
Yeah, the clear cooperation policy, it depends if we have questions after that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, One
the
Home,
One
how
Home?
long do you think that would take?
That usually takes about a half hour, depending on how in depth you want me or what questions
Okay.
they are having.
All right. Yeah, I don't
I
think
thi-
we're using it much, but I do hear about people at the MLS committee using it. So I'm guessing that they find it useful,
Well, I mean, if they're sending out an auto email, they're doing the One Home already.
but
So
logging into it, aren't there other features that you can?
that you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. Well, yeah. Let me pull up
Just
my
curious.
One Home. Oh yeah. I just know I have to log in periodically, like
But
every
you have to
30.
create an account with One Home also, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
We haven't started, Randy.
Okay.
Did Mark see you walk in? All right, did Mark see you walk in?
No. you
Okay,
did I
it's all
say
right.
hi?
Oh, we'll go. But I think, yeah, with registering a listing and maybe briefly going through the clear cooperation policy, and we'll see how much time we have, because I do want to reiterate some of the fines that are associated with non-compliance associated. It's really
Yeah.
pretty hefty.
Yeah. It's super hefty.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, yeah. And it's unfortunate that there are still agents that don't read the contracts appropriately. And I know
Yeah.
you emphasize that for everybody here at the office, but yeah, we want to definitely clear that up.
Even simple things, which is not simple. The days are always changing in regards to when you must put a contract in, when you must have a picture in, for example, have it registered. So now it's just 2 days. It's not 2 business days.
And I thought they were looking at making it one now.
Yeah, that's the discussion. But then also for if you do begin to market a property, you have 1 business day. There's a big difference there to actually activate that listing.
Yep.
So that's confusing. That's very confusing. But yeah, it could be down to 1 day to actually put in a listing within the active date or the effective date.
Exactly. Now, do you want me to pull up my zip forms and pull up the 2
Yeah, I forgot.
contracts?
Sure. I will. I forgot to actually make you.
Co-host.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll pull up zip forms and pull up the 2 forms. Thank you. All right.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Thanks for coming today. John Barris, when do you actually leave for your trip?
Good morning. We leave on December 20th.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that late.
We needed a break and rest. And I got to close I got to close one more escrow to pay for it.
Yeah. How many people are going to be attending that event in the Philippines? Your second one.
The latest count that I have been allowed to know is 250.
Wow.
I was told originally 150.
It's grown.
Yes.
Sounds like fun.
Want to go?
I just might want to. I've never been to the Philippines.
You'll have a blast. They'll love
Yeah.
you there.
Really? Yeah. I'm not going to say anything, but
I've heard
We're
golf
being
is great
recorded.
there and the food is awesome.
What's the flight time, John?
Going there is 16 and a half hours. Coming back is 13 and a half. I've asked them why they can't take the same trip that we go coming back and make it much shorter, but they didn't care for my humor.
They just don't know you, John, to appreciate you. That's
But
really what it comes down to.
It's nonstop out of LAX.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Nice.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming today. So part of our discussion, it's going to be a little fragmented, but we're going to talk about registering a listing, the clear cooperation policy, and possibly going on to one home. So with us today is our guest speaker, Anthony Bried, who is a zipform certified trainer, paperless pro certified, RPR certified trainer, ePro, and senior technology trainer with Orange County Realtors. Tony, thanks for attending today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So good morning, everybody. Just a brief history about me. I've been here at Orange County now for officially over 20 years, started off in the MLS department, guaranteed I'll speak to everybody regarding the rules and regulations. And that's the big topic today of going over the contracts a little bit. So Richard and I are going to tag team our meeting today, whereby we want to be able to help clarify or clear some understandings of how to register a listing. Now, I'm just going to share my screen here real quick. There we go. And let's minimize that one. Just real quickly, MLS Rule 7.8, the mandatory delivery of a listing agreement. I know we've talked about this in the proper listing class, the MLS rules. So the current rule under 7.8 says that the listing agent broker must either exclude the listing from the multiple listing service or enter it into the MLS within 2 calendar days of the effective list date. Now, the biggest thing that we want to emphasize on this one are a couple of things here. Number one, the old rule prior to November of last year basically indicated that you used to have 2 business days, meaning that if you took a listing on Monday, you have until Wednesday, Thursday to input that listing into the MLS. Today, with 2 calendar days, say you take that listing on a Friday, you now have until Sunday to input that listing into the MLS. So they're not talking about excluding out the weekends from inputting your listing into the multiple listing service. Now, the effective listing contract date. Now, this one has been some debate. So looking at a listing agreement, what is considered the listing effective date? So if we look here at a residential listing agreement, we have here under paragraph 1, which is amazing that some people don't realize this here. When is the listing supposed to start? And you have a date here. But then you also have the date of signature on a contract. So you have to ask yourself, when is the effective listing date? So we'll use this as an example. If, say, we have the effective listing date of December, and let's say December 6th. But the clients don't sign the contract until December 12th. What is the effective listing agreement date on your listing? Anybody?
December 12th,
December
the
12th.
date of the last required signature.
There we go. Now, wait a minute. Let's throw the opposite. What happens if we have here the effective listing date of December 12th, but the client signs it December 6th? What is the effective listing date?
December 12th.
December 12th. Now, can anyone understand why that is? Besides,
Later of the two.
correct. It's the later of the two. So whatever date is later on the contract. So even though you might have December 12th down, but you're signing it today, the effective listing date is later because of the effective date. Now, if the opposite happens, where you're trying to take it today, but then they don't finish signing until December 12th, it's whenever the last required signature goes on the contract, whichever date is later is when you have the effective listing date. So that means that either case, we have 2 calendar days from December 12th to input that listing into the MLS. So we just want to be careful of that. So the client signs the contract or the date of the contract, whichever is later. Now you have to either register the listing, input it into the MLS as coming soon, or active. Now this all hinges upon marketing. So say we have that effective date today, they sign it today, which is December 6th, but John goes out to his car, pulls out a for sale sign, and puts a for sale sign on the property. He's effectively begun to market the property. This now means that he has, under 2B here of the MLS rule, that he has now within 1 business day of marketing the property to input that listing as either coming soon or be active. So say he puts that for sale sign on a Friday, but it's the weekend. He now has until Monday, Tuesday to input that listing into the MLS because we're not counting the weekends of marketing the property.
If I could interject, Tony, and then
Yes, sir.
also if there's a violation, the violation is a minimum of $500 up to $2,500 or 1% of the selling price of the property. So it's a dramatic fine if you're caught not inputting that information within 1 business day, for example.
And what's our median sales price here in Irvine?
Ours, $1.1 million, $1.2 million.
So 1% of $1.1 million, $1.2 million.
Yeah,
Anybody
you're
here
gonna
have
pay
that
the
lying
max.
around?
You're gonna pay the maximum $2,500. That's exactly what you're going to do.
So
What's that? We have a question, Tony. I'm
So
sorry.
Tony, can you give us an example of why somebody would register, like in what scenario someone would register a listing over activating it, or why would someone enter it as coming soon into the MLS versus just activating it or waiting until the listing to activate it?
great question,
Just for those
Carlos.
that don't know.
So here highlighted in red, if the property is never to be marketed, then the listing does not need to be placed into coming soon or active. So this is where scenario 2A would come in, where they would register the listing. Okay, so that hinges upon marketing the property. Okay, so MLS rule 7.9.1 of no clear cooperation or no cooperation of a listing. excuse me, the listing broker agent may withhold the listing only if the seller in writing refuses to permit the property from being listed or marketed or advertised as defined by MLS Rule 7.9, which we'll touch on here. So basically the seller is giving you, the listing agent and the listing broker's instructions not to disseminate any information in the MLS. So if that's the case, then they need to do one of two things. They either need to do the SELM, the seller instruction to exclude the listing from the multiple listing service, or because of this rule going into effect about 2020, on the residential listing agreement, under section 7 about clear cooperation, specifically 7D, either 1 or 2, where the seller is going to instruct the broker to not market the property until either a certain date or indefinitely. At which case they now need to, within that 2-day time period, to register the listing. So no matter what, you as an agent still have to let the MLS know that you have a valid listing agreement, but your client has instructed you to not market the property at this time. Okay. So just to get a little bit more specific on the contract itself, if we're looking at, say, the residential listing agreement, okay, which a lot of people tend to not know about, paragraph 7 of the residential listing agreement all pertain to public marketing of a property. Okay. So here we've got subsection A about clear cooperation. Here it indicates that the MLS rules do have clear cooperation policies. Okay. MLS rule 7.9, all about clear cooperation and marketing, and 7.8. You have what is considered public marketing based on the clear cooperation. And of course, coming soon status. But more importantly here, section 7D about the seller's instructions to not market the property. You either have subsection 1, where they are telling you to not market the property until a certain date, or subparagraph 2, where they're instructing you to not market the property at all to the public. So this is a big one that it seems like a lot of agents tend to overlook when they're getting a listing agreement done. So you want to pay attention to this. Okay. Now, the old traditional method that we're used to is the SELM. The SELM, even though it says we wanted to exclude that listing from, or the seller wants to exclude that listing from the multiple listing service, even though paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3 talk about mandatory submission, the benefits of posting that listing in the MLS so that the seller understands that. But what we have here is paragraph 4. Paragraph 4 states almost verbatim what paragraph 7D, either 1 or 2 state. Either that the seller is instructing you to not market the property until a certain date, or not market the property at all for the entire listing period. In either case, one of these two forms have to be done. Now, that all hinges upon Mr. Moore's policies for contracts. So in this case, Richard, what is your policy?
I prefer using section 7C1 as opposed to creating a separate SELM. So that's what we want to do. There's no reason to create the SELM if not necessary. Now, however, the residential listing agreement differs from a vacant land listing agreement, or an investment property agreement, or a lease listing agreement. Section 7C1 is not found in those listing contracts unless it's being modified, and I'm not aware of it being modified yet. Then in those cases, if you're going to market the property some future date, then you must use the SELM.
Exactly. And if you're caught marketing the property, not only is this an additional fine, which is about, I want to say about $2,500, and it goes up because marketing a property has way more stricter violations and fines, because the MLS does have the discretion to fine you up to $15,000 with a possible suspension of MLS. So we want to be super careful on this. So you got to make sure that you go over these contracts with your clients. Now, here, how many of you actually read the contracts with your clients?
All of them, everybody.
All of them, right? That's right, because that's your office policy.
That's right.
We want to make sure that the clients understand the benefits of marketing the property, because what they want you to do fiduciary is what? To market the property, to get the highest and best offer to help them get into their next property. Well, if we think about this, if they are restricting you from marketing the property, how are they ever going to expect for you to get the highest and best
Maximize,
offer?
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah. Our
maximize sale.
policy is to actually put it on the MLS. I can't think of
Excellent.
any reason really not to put it on the MLS.
Now, the registered procedure, which is not considered a status because it's not found within the MLS, has several things. Okay, the only thing that's required to register a property is the property address, the listing contract date, the list price, the expiration date, and if indicated on the contract, when marketing is to start, if ever. Okay. Now, in registering a property, there is no marketing that's supposed to be done. Okay. The property is not displayed on the MLS, so other agents won't be able to see it. No buying agent commission is currently offered because it's not marketed in the MLS. Doesn't mean that you're not giving a buying agent commission per the contract, but just know that the buying agent commission is not, a set value as per the MLS. So as you all know, in the MLS, and you put the buying agent commission, that's the bare minimum of what needs to be offered or given at time of close. Whether it's 1 cent or 99.9% of the, under the buying agent commission. Whatever's stated there, that's what has to be offered. Okay. Now, what's also nice is that while the property is registered, no days on market are counted. Why? Because there's no marketing. And actually, DOM should really be converted to days of marketing. Okay. There's no distribution to any public websites at all, like Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes and Land, OC Register, LA Times. Okay. And there's no showings, or showings are only allowed to those of you who have a signed broker agreement with your client.
Agency disclosure.
Disclosure.
Yeah. Form AD, disclosure regarding agency relationship. If the client signs that form within 1 year of showing the property, and you show them the property or disclose that information, it is not considered to be public marketing, thus you're not in violation. Plus, under registered, you can actually take that person who signed the agency disclosure to see the property, whereas under coming soon status, you can't show the property under any circumstance.
Correct. So you got to have this form done. Now, if you look at the purchase agreement, it's the very first form under the purchase agreement, the disclosure regarding agency relationship, where you're representing the buyer side. Okay, this has to be signed. Now, this can be signed with the listing agent or another agent within this office, not any other office. And that's the key as well. Even though Coldwell Banker has many, many different offices, you are with Coldwell Banker Platinum here in Irvine. So even though Richard might have 2 or 3 other offices, no other office, because there is no marketing done on the property, will ever know about this listing. So in a way, this registered status works and functions very similar to a pocket listing, but with huge, huge limitations. You can talk about it. You can talk about it here in the in a office meeting if you want. If as, hey, I've got a listing coming up, but we got to be careful of the marketing problem. Under MLS Rule 7.9, what we want to point out here is this: marketing and advertising includes, but is not limited to, any information about a property and its availability for sale, as displayed on any signs, websites, social media postings, brokerage or franchise operated websites, communication of any kind, whether it's written or, more importantly, verbal. So say John has a pocket listing. He's got it registered. Okay. He's got on his contracts no marketing of this property at all, but he talks about it here in the office. And Harriet might have a client. So she tells her client about the property. They go and they get their AD signed. Harriet and her client go and see the property, but you know what? It's not a good fit. But Harriet's client tells a friend of hers about that property. And that friend, funny enough, happens to know another real estate agent. And they tell that agent about the property. That agent goes into the MLS. They don't find the property at all. They immediately call the MLS. Hey, I heard about this property being up for sale. Can you, where is it? Is it registered? CRMLS looks it up. How'd you hear about it? Oh, my client told me about it because I heard about it from a friend. You have now effectively have marketed the property, and you are now responsible and breaking MLS Rule 7.9, which is a $2,500 fine, which now requires you, because it's now been marketed, to input that listing into the MLS under an active status.
That's not right.
That's the way it is, right?
That is the way it is. Which
So I
now, by the
should-
way, you're talking about other fines and violations of your code of ethics for not following your contracts.
A question that comes up sometimes is, can I post information about a property on social media and not specify the address?
It's still
Well, if you're marketing a property, you're marketing. And then if someone reports you, this is always a problem. You don't have an address, but that you do actually have a property, maybe you have a listing contract for, it's still a violation. So just be careful about that.
Because you're not following the clear cooperation policies of the MLS or even of the contract. Because
Yeah,
that's
and then-
why paragraph 7 is so big, because it talks about what you're going to do to market the property.
And CRMLS has actually become more stringent. If you have 3 violations in a calendar year, you're subject to review, suspension, expulsion. So only 3 violations in 1 year.
And that's, yeah, that's effective as of today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the rules and regulations. So yeah, it's effective right now.
So I don't want to see anybody ever get expelled from the MLS, because if this is your only source of income, why do that to yourself? Really, honestly. So we want to be careful of that. By the way, are there any questions so far on the registered?
One thing I would add, when entering the listing into the MLS, be sure that the start marketing date that's shown in section C1 or on the SCLM is the same date that you use when entering the date for start marketing in the MLS itself. When creating a listing, sometimes there's confusion over the dates with the contract date. The contract date and the start marketing date can be 2 different dates. Contract date, remember, is the date of the beginning date or the last required signature. And then the start marketing date could be a date out in the future.
Correct. So again, under section 7D here, if you're doing 7D, say 1, here, don't market the property until the 23rd. So even though you're taking it today, but you're not going to market the property until the 23rd, you still have to register the property because your listing is in effect. But then you have to take it out of registered and put it into the MLS as either coming soon or active on the, by the 25th. Because again, 2 calendar days from when you're marketing the property. I'm sorry, my bad. 1 business day for marketing the property.
From marketing, yes.
And if your client decides to go active a week prior to when your marketing date is,
Then they need to do
an addendum for that, right?
correct. And either something in writing, whether it's an email or an official amendment to the contract or an addendum, whatever you guys or whatever Richard Moore says you need to have done and how it needs to be said to get that done.
So
officially begin written instructions.
Yeah, change in status requires written authorization from the client prior to the change actually being made.
So if work is done early and they want you to now take advantage, during the Christmas season, or, hey, we need to extend this out, they, say to January 1, then get it in writing from them, because that's, going to affect what you're going to essentially do within the MLS.
And I'm sorry to continue to bring this up, but if you don't have written authorization, to make a status change, it's a $500 fine. So, yes, I just want everyone to be aware.
They're starting to audit some of these, right?
Well, there's always, it's going to be your peer who's going to report you. That's probably the source of all of the fines for the most part,
Mhm.
your fellow peers in the industry.
Other agents find that, hear about things, see things, they don't find it fair. Oh, I see a for sale sign on the property, but I don't see it in the MLS, which now keys MLS's compliance department of about 20 person staff to start combing through. And their first thing is you may be in violation. So they'll send you and your broker an email, and they'll want to see the listing agreement or the SELM or some sort of email in writing from your client about the, the contracts. And you are obligated to provide them this. If you don't provide it to them, all of a sudden you're getting fined even higher fines for not doing things. $500 for the wrong status, $500 for not inputting your listing. That all of a sudden right there is $1,000 on top of everything else. So these fines stack up very, very quickly.
What's a fine for entering a listing into the MLS 2 weeks after your beginning date on your listing contract?
It's probably $2,500.
$2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's bad.
So if you
Not
had
that
a
anyone who does
contract
that.
and you
No,
didn't,
you just had a specific number of 2 weeks, right?
Just so everybody understands the severity of it.
I would say if you didn't realize and didn't register personally between UI and the lamppost, update your contracts. Maybe cancel out the old one, get a brand new one. That way you can follow the proper steps so that you're not in violation. Because you can't backdate dates. And if you do, that's what'll also key off. I've had many a phone call from agents who go, well, I didn't register the property, but I inputted it in, but my listing date was 2 weeks ago. Why am I getting these fines? Well, the MLS rule says that you have 2 calendar days from your listing agreement date. So you're in fines for that, and late entry and wrong status. And yeah. So sometimes I would say, always get an updated contract or an amendment to your contract. So, I don't like to see anybody get fines personally. And I know that, CC would probably hang me from a noose right about now for suggesting this. But, if Carlos, you're 2 weeks behind, update your contract.
And is it
Fix
the
it.
same for vice versa? If you enter a listing without a listing contract and then you get it 2 weeks later?
Yeah, then that's a super fine, because now you're marketing a property that you didn't have the rights to properly represent. And not only is that an MLS violation, but it's also a code of ethics violation.
And
Which
it's a
code of ethics
civil
is-
code violation, right?
Yeah, and you're now talking tens of thousands of dollars and DRE violations and suspension of your license.
So that goes in front of because there's going to be a panel that's going to review it, and it's just realtors like me that sit on that panel. So that panel can actually have that information reported to the Department of Real Estate if that person's found in violation. So
Yeah.
don't do that.
Even if it's your own property, always have a listing agreement. MLS is very strict on this. Listings in the MLS must be under a signed listing agreement. Even an open listing agreement.
What happens if you have you get a listing and a start date, but you don't know when you can start to market it because the house goes through renovation or something like that? And so what do you put in the start marketing date, and how do you handle it?
What I suggest doing, just putting a date way out in the future, then you can always get a written instruction from your client to change that date.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, still, no matter what, you've got the listing, you register it. You're not marketing the property until the work is done, right? So if you're going to begin to market it, then yeah, put it out as far as you need to. I would imagine somebody getting work. I can't imagine personally having a construction worker give me an infinite date of when, their work is going to be completed. Cause I don't want somebody here a year from now still working on the same stuff. That's why we pay contractors lots of money to get work done quickly. So that's just me personally.
Yeah, then there's reality, right?
Yeah. Well, all right.
Yeah, 2 years.
So why don't we do this now? Let's go over how to register a listing. Okay. By the way, are there any questions on the contract work?
I don't see anything in the chat box.
Awesome. So everybody's going to get their contracts done correctly, right, John Barrist?
Always. Why would you single me out? I
'Cause
just
you're getting
learned
married.
I won't talk to Harriet about any of my listings.
That's right. I would personally say to try to help avoid some of that is, hey, I've got a listing that is currently registered. If you have a client that might be interested in knowing about a property, come and see me after this. And then that way you can talk to the agent and say, do you have the signed agency disclosure with your client? If so, then let's talk about it so I can get you out there to see the property, and that way, things just paperwork wise will be okay for you. And it cuts down on the marketing faux pas a little bit. All right. Let's see here. Let's go and register a property. Well, how do we register that property? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to first begin to log into the MLS by going to the MLS dashboard login. Now, what we're not going to do is continue on to Matrix. When it comes to registering that property, you get the signed listing agreement, but no marketing is to happen either indefinitely or right away. Maybe that work is getting done. Then what we still need to do is register that property. Now, how we register it is all from the dashboard section. From here onto the dashboard section, we're now going to scroll down, and they've actually changed the name of this tool. So instead of it being called the listing toolbox, it is now called the RE Center Hub. Don't ask me why CRMLS has done this, but they have done this. Okay. So from here, what you're going to do is you're going to click on this choice here under the CRMLS resources called the RE Center Hub. When you click on the RE Center Hub, you're now going to be asked to log into your Clarity, hopefully. And now what will happen is you're going to get a list of choices off here to the left. One of those choices is registered listings. Under the registered listings section, this will now display all of your registered listings that you have under your account. So all the properties that you're not marketing. Now we get a new listing. Richard signs a listing agreement with me. He's instructed me to not market the property for at least three or 4 weeks during the holidays. But the contract is effective today because I don't want him signing with any other agent and any other brokerage at all. So I'm going to now register his listing. Very easy. I'm going to come over here towards the top left to this green button that says new and click. Now I'm going to follow an easy 1, 2, 3, 4-step process to register this property. Step number 1, I'm going to search for an address. Actually, I'm going to put my office address. Now you'll find that even though we've got the street name or the street number, the street name, the unit, the city, all required, I'm going to search for that property on Google Maps first. When I find that property on Google Maps, I'm going to select it, which now automatically fills in the address data. With the address data filled in and the map pin placement placed, I'm now going to come over towards the bottom right corner and click on the yellow button that says next. Now, in those scenarios, say John meets with me, a new home builder, and this address doesn't exist officially just yet because maybe the streets haven't been fully named or registered with the county just yet. Try to at least place the pin as closest to the address as possible. Now we're going to go to next to step 2, the listing information. You'll notice here, unlike inputting a regular listing in the MLS where I've got what, 6 or 7 tabs filled with data that I can fill in about the property. The only thing that's going to be required is the property type, all based around our listing agreement. Is it a residential for sale, land lot, income, or lease? We select what we need. We're going to put in the list price, what's on the listing agreement. We're going to put in the listing contract date. You'll notice here that we can just click on the down arrow. What I can't do is backdate it greater than 2 days. So, Carlos, if it was 2 weeks old, guess what? We can't backdate it 2 weeks ago. This is why I would definitely suggest maybe getting a new listing agreement. From here, we're going to put in the listing contract date or the effective contract date. Here we can input a start marketing date. So if you do 7D1 or paragraph 4A under the SELM, marketing is to begin on that date. Or if there is no marketing to be done because you did on the RLA 7D subparagraph 2 or on the SELM paragraph 4B, then indicate that there is no marketing to be done during the entire listing period by selecting this box. Now we can put in the expiration date to our listing agreement. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to put in a start marketing date. From here, we now go to the bottom right corner, click on the next button. You'll notice here that because I'm logged in under my account, it puts me as the primary listing agent. So that means even a co-agent can't input it in if the property is already registered, but I can give a co-agent credit. So here, all I need to do is put in their email address or their name or their MLS user ID. So maybe John Barrist is my co-agent. I can put his information in as the co-agent. That's if John wants to work with me.
Of course, for this many years.
Exactly. Now from here, we click on next. And now we reconfirm the information or confirm the information that we just inputted in. And now at the end of the day, we come down below to the bottom right, click save, and we have now officially saved this listing and registered the property. This step should take you less than 2 minutes to do. So there should be no excuse why anybody does not register their listing if indicated by the contracts. And what was the fine again, Richard, for this?
$2,500, 1% up to 2,500, minimum of 500.
So for not registering your listing, registering your listing saves you $2,500. Roughly. Now, if you got $2,500 you want to throw around, throw some my way. I'll be more than happy to take your money.
It's very nice, you, Tony.
I'll spread the wealth. How about that? All right. Are there any questions on registering a listing?
I see nothing in the chat box.
Okay,
How do you, can you show us how to convert it to an active listing from here?
excellent. So say the time comes where we now need to market the property and we now need to put it in as say coming soon or active. Okay. Now, by the way, to input a listing as coming soon, where it allows you to market the property, but not show the property. You have a contract for that as well, which is found in zipforms. You just have to switch your libraries. Okay. So in zipforms, if the client is telling me to market the property as coming soon, so maybe the work will be done so that they want me to market the property, but they're still not ready to show it. Then in zipforms, switch your libraries from the California Association of Realtors library when you add a form to the California Regional Multiple Listing Service Library, or CRMLS. And there you have the instructions to input that listing as a coming soon from the seller. Here it benefits, or it explains what coming soon is all about, the limitations and the benefits. The clients need to sign it, as well as yourself and the brokerage. Now this just needs to be kept for your files. But now what you can do is input that listing into the MLS as a coming soon or active. But wait, we've registered the listing. Well, if we've registered the listing, what we don't want to do, because we can't do the back dates, is just immediately go to Matrix, go to add, edit, and begin to input the listing. Because again, you're going to get hit with fines. So what we want to do in this case is that if we need to take the property from registered and move it over to active, or make it active, what we now need to do is go back under the RE Center Hub, go back under our registered listings. And here you'll notice that we see the registered listing ID number. We see the address. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move this to the MLS. How we do that? On this one line report, we're going to come over to the far right to this green sheet of paper, or the paper airplane. And if I hover over top of it, it basically just says, you're sending this to the MLS. When I click on it, it will say, do you want to confirm sending this over to the MLS system? We're going to say yes, send it. And now this will remove that property from our registered list. And now when we go into the Matrix system, in about 5 to 10 minutes, it will appear under our add edit. And let me get there. It will appear under our add edit as an incomplete listing. Now what I can do is go through and edit the details of the listing itself. And now when I hit submit, I will now be issued a proper MLS listing number. So in this case, sending it from registered to the MLS takes you about 2 minutes to do, if that. You probably wait 15 minutes in total for it to appear as an incomplete, for you to now complete the listing. So what I would probably suggest, because I know how some agents like to take their time with their listings, maybe the day before that listing is to go active, send it over to the MLS system, then go under your incompletes and begin to fill it out and save as an incomplete. Then when it's ready to go back into your listing, choose your status and hit submit, and it should be then active. But it gives you your time to input what you need. Because I don't think it takes you guys longer than a day to input a listing, does it?
No.
Are there any questions on this?
Any questions? No, nothing in the chat box.
Excellent. Are there any questions at all?
Does anyone have any questions? And then remember, the coming soon form should be signed at the same time you're having a listing contract signed, because if you're going to put in coming soon, you don't have that form signed. Guess what's another violation? Another $750.
There you go.
Yeah, it's crazy.
On top of the $2,500, which now you're looking at $3,200 in fines.
And if you make a mistake, see me. And we will avoid that at all costs.
Richard won't put you in the dungeon for too long, right?
We want to avoid that.
Definitely.
So I guess the summary is, if you take a listing and it's not going to be active in the MLS right away, you would have to register it. And then following registration, by the time you're to start marketing it, you would then convert it to an actual listing. And then if you do take a listing, you have two calendar days to put that listing into the MLS. Now that's going to be changing to 1 calendar day. And that's probably going to change at the beginning of the year, as a matter of fact. And then if you start marketing a property, you have 1 business day to change the status to active. All right, so those are the basics.
Definitely.
Did I miss anything there, Tony?
No, sir.
Okay. And then can someone tell me what the effective date of a listing is?
The latter of the 2 signatures, or the signature date, or the date that the contract set to start.
Very good. That's great. So now what happens if you have a listing contract and there are 2 signatures required, but you can't seem to get the second signature? Can you actually put that into the MLS? Yes, you can in the prior remarks. So it's important, because what if it's a divorced couple? We've witnessed this happen. Each party wants to use their own listing agent. That's what happens, right? So the first person to put a listing into the MLS is the winner with the MLS. You can always dispute commissions thereafter. But if you can't get both signatures in that example, or any example in which there's more than 1 signature required, you can put it in the MLS, but you must disclose the fact that not all signatures required have been obtained, and that there's a contingency for the sale of the property based upon obtaining all signatures. So there's a way around it if you can't get all of them and you want to start marketing that property. Maybe somebody's out of the country and they don't have access to a computer or don't use a computer.
You have to put it in the MLS, you can't register it.
No, but you would follow the same timeframes. The thought is, though, we talked about the effective date of a listing contract being the latter of the beginning date, or the date of the last required signature. So what is it? What is the date of the last required signature if there's more than 1 individual required to sign? If you don't ever get that second one, you still can move forward, but you have to qualify that information in private remarks.
So you can list with 1 signature, but
You
need
can't.
both signatures to sell it.
And you need to state that it's a contingency in the MLS.
Gets credit for it.
If you think there's an issue, that would be a reason to actually put that in the MLS without all the required
What is
signatures.
your first to register? Does that count?
No,
MLS.
no, MLS. I don't think there's any conflict when registering a property in the MLS, even you're not going to be able to enter a property twice for the same property. Unless it's a different type of service that's being offered, leasing the property versus selling the property.
Correct. Now, one thing that I'm surprised nobody asked about, what happens if the property sells and you want the recorded sale under your inventory, or it's for sale, comp purposes only? Do you input the listing yourself into the MLS as a closed sale? The answer is that is no. What you want to do, say, while the property was registered, we ended up here at Coldwell getting that property into escrow and we closed it. Now, what do I do with this property? Because I need to show it under my closed inventory. Well, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to send an email to compliance@crmls.org. I'm going to give them the registered ID number. I'm going to put in the title, please report for comp purposes only. And then I'm going to give them instructions. Please take the registered ID number for this address and report it as a closed sale. Then what you need to do is attach a copy of the closing statement, as well as an exterior photo for your listing. And what CRMLS will do is they will pull it out of the registered status and immediately report it as a closed sale in the MLS.
Why wouldn't you just make it active?
Because you
pending,
can't, because you can't backdate. So if you send it over after it's closed, you can't backdate the pending date because it has to first be active. Does that make sense? Which throws off all your dates.
But John, you can actually sell a property when it's registered, and when changing it or putting it in the MLS, you can go from active to pending immediately. So there's 0 days on the market, if that's the question.
That is, thank you.
Yeah.
But if your close date was, say, today, or say it was yesterday, right? But it was pending 3 weeks ago, then now all of a sudden you're hit with violations because you have the wrong dates in your listing for inaccurate data. which are about $250. So it's easier if that's the case, if the property was registered. Number one, you're still compliant with your contract, that it's not being marketed, but at least you're now reporting it for comp purposes so that other agents, including yourself, can use that data for CMAs and things like that as a reported sale. You just have to just jump through a couple of hoops. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Excellent.
It does. Any other questions for Tony? No, Tony, thank you so much.
Oh, no problem.
Appreciate
Did you want
it.
me to still go over the one home real quick?
You know, actually, we're probably limited with time, and I have Sarah Menchaca, who is yet to speak on our
Oh.
behalf. So I will schedule that for a future presentation.
Awesome.
Okay, great. Thank you again, Tony.
You're welcome.
And Sarah Menchaca, Sarah with Southern California Funding. Sarah,
Hey, Rich. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
How are you?
good morning, everybody. Again,
I just wanted to give a quick update for those of you who may not have heard. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac did come out with new loan amounts. So the new conforming loan amount is now $726,200. That's up from $647,200, so quite an increase. For certain areas that are considered high cost, such as Orange County and LA County, that loan limit is up to $1,089,300. For San Diego, that would be $977,500. So it does vary by county. Quick rate update. So for the new conforming loan limits, rates today are about 5.999 to 6.438%, with 0 to 1 points being charged. High balance, 6.25 to 6.84%, again with 0 to 1 points being charged. And your jumbo loan, so this is anything over that new conforming or new high balance loan limit, would be about 6.375 to 6.75.
wow, substantially better than just a few weeks ago.
Yes, they have been some improvement. I believe December 14th is going to be the last Fed meeting of the year. So talks about if they're going to, do another 75% basis point increase or maybe lower it to 50 basis points. So we'll see what happens at that meeting.
Yeah, right now, actually, the yield on the 10-year Treasury is dropping again today, so it's all positive.
Yeah.
So hope it continues. Any questions for Sarah? No? Okay. Mary, I see you're with us. Do you have anything that you wanted to add today? She is. She's there. Hi, Mary.
Hi, how are
Hi.
you?
Good. How are you? Did you have anything
Sorry,
you wanted to add before we wrap it up?
Yes. Wanted to let everybody know, we have a huge influx of people getting back onto mailing out farms. So if any of you are doing farms or your SOI, please feel free to let me know if I can get you some labels. We can get those to you on the same day, both return address labels and then your farm labels. So
Okay.
make sure you take advantage of that. I hate to see when my agents are printing those up themselves at home.
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. Anybody else? No? Well, thank you for attending today. Tony, thank you. Sarah, thank you. And Mary, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Hope
All
this
right.
was enjoyable.
It was always fun.
Bye.
All right. Thanks again, everybody.
Have a happy holidays.
Bye.